Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome to Live at the Waterhole. We're first up. We're at the absolutely jam-packed Jamala Waterhole in the Madikwe Game Reserve of the Northwest Province of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten. And do I even need to say it? What does the bush hold in store for us today? Well, I think it's going to be an elephantastic day. It's another absolute scorcher. So I'm pretty sure this is going to be what we're going to be watching pretty much until in the afternoon. And as per usual, please don't forget that this is a live and interactive experience. So we'd love for you to jump on board with us and send us through your questions and your comments. You can do that by going on the WildEarth website and registering. Also, join the conversation on X, or formerly known as Twitter, and you can use the hashtag WildEarth. Also on the YouTube live chat. There is so much going on. There's youngsters getting stuck in. There's adults discussing what happened yesterday and how hot it is, I'm sure, and everything else in between. There were a couple of giraffe around earlier. Some kudu also came down. But with there just being so many elephants, not many other animals are really getting a chance. There's a kudu moving through in the background, probably trying to squeak in here somewhere and have a drink. I think there's a buffalo bull just in the shade on the opposite bank as well, behind that mother and her little calf. A few zebra milling about as well, probably also waiting their chance, while there's a buffalo bull on the island who's snuck in. Looks like the other buffalo bull, he might have been just pushed off by that arriving group of elephants. Maybe he'll come down, or he might go look for an alternative bit of shade. So speaking of it being a scorcher, I think this heat wave that we are experiencing is going to go through to Tuesday if the reports are correct. But with that in mind, let's go and have a look what the weather's going to be like across all the different locations. So it seems it's cooled off a little bit in the Lowveld, but it hasn't definitely cooled off here in the Northwest Province of South Africa. There's a little bit of rain about, maybe in Tembe as well as in East Africa, but definitely no rain here. Billy, thanks for your comment, and how's it? Right back at you. Lovely to have you on board with us. So, leopard lover, how's it back at you? And yes, I mean, could we not ask for more elephants? It is incredible, and they've really been pitching up here, especially at Jamala. At Tau, which is also on the Madikwe Game Reserve, we had some elephants there yesterday as well, but definitely not like this. There were I think there was a small breeding herd and a couple of bulls there. But here is almost countless. Could you count how many elephants there are here currently? I'm going to give it a go. Yeah, Nadine, director, saying she stopped at 50. I've just stopped at 60, and that's probably going well over 70, and that's just in frame. There's more coming into frame. I'm pretty sure we'll be heading into 3 digits here, quite comfortably. So, Jennifer, yes, indeed, it is a real mud party with these Ellies, and they're really churning it up. For the last few days, they've been doing that. So, I don't think the water would be tasting very nice right now. And that's why a lot of congregation here in the foreground where the fresh water does come through. But for the rest of the animals, they're not going to really be getting a chance to drink at that fresh water source. They may just have to make do with the muddy water.
Attention all teachers. Round up your bundles of joy and get comfortable because WildEarth Kids Safaris are here to stay. Go to our website and sign your class up for a special virtual safari with interactive learning tailored for kids.
Good afternoon or good morning, boys and girls from all over the world.
Spoil your kids with some wild fun for 1 hour every weekday on our afternoon drives. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
Some Egyptian geese just doing a flyby there. Now just watch on the opposite bank there. There's that small breeding herd of elephants. They're not very happy with that buffalo, but he's not going anywhere. So as mentioned, I'd like to get into a little bit about the different dynamics within the herd, and I found a lovely blog by Jabulani Safari, and they say that everyone may be familiar with the term herd when it comes to elephants, but few may have heard of their extended families or social structures called bonds and clans. So I think we'll delve deeper into these fascinating groups, but let's get back to the basics with the herd matriarchs, allo mothers, and bulls. Elephants have a unique social structure that seems to echo our own. They face many of the struggles of coexistence that we struggle with. In an extremely social and gregarious animal plagued with many of the emotional issues normally only associated with humans, it seems possible that we can learn from them. Maybe we need a bit more of the wide open spaces, possibly sleeping under the stars is called for. Elephants, like humans, start out slowly with none of the hit the ground running strategy that's employed by many other animals from the wide open spaces of Africa. In fact, young elephant calves are more likely to trip over their trunks and hit the ground. While most of us know that elephants live in herds, what we may not know is that you get female herds and male herds, two separate groups that rarely meet, and beyond that, there are bond groups and clans. Now, we say rarely meet, but at this time of the year, when it's very dry like this, we can see that, at this time, they do meet quite a lot. The basic family unit in a herd of elephants, with anywhere between 6 and 20 animals normally, consists of the matriarch with her calves and grand calves. While the females often remain with the herd for life, the young bulls may stay until around 12 to 15 years of age when they reach puberty. They then become more independent until they leave the herd completely to either roam alone or find a loosely knit group of male elephants to join in a kind of bachelor herd. The nurturing and maturity period for elephants is possibly the longest of all mammals, with a 3 to 5 year weaning period only ending with the birth of a sibling. Even then, the young elephants remain with the family for years, learning from their elders while enjoying both physical and emotional support. Now, babysitting, which is also known as allo mothering, is important to keep elephant calves safe from both predators and their own foolhardy behavior. As we see a lot here at the Waterhole, when they're playing around and stuff, they could get themselves into trouble, but they're always being looked after by the allo mothers, if not their own mother. And so that helps them over obstacles and teaches them what to do and what not to eat. But this nannying also acts as a learning ground for adolescent female elephants, teaching them how to become mothers. So it's quite an important process. Young and single elephant mothers have their hands full raising a family in what can, at times, be an unforgiving environment. The survival rates for calves of inexperienced mothers is significantly lower than for mature cows. So practicing on someone else's little one is a smart idea. The herd's leader is not elected, but she receives the favored position because of her knowledge and abilities. With the matriarch, she's naturally chosen as the elephants in the herd turn to her for guidance and when in danger, knowing that she has all the answers and leadership prowess. In female herds, the matriarch leads the family group, the mothers and their young, who require her to show them to be cleanest to the cleanest water in the dry season and to know where to dig for underground water in droughts. Generally, the oldest and largest adult female member, the matriarch, needs to remember the safest river crossings, know the signs of the changing seasons, and the other elephants in the herd follow her in single file, generally. And especially when you see them coming to waterholes like this, you can normally notice that it's the matriarch leading them in, and when they leave as well, she will be the one in front. And her job is to ensure that the future generations survive and teaching them so that they can continue with that knowledge going forward. The bulls in the male herd have only one responsibility: to get big enough to breed. The male elephants seldom mate successfully until they're in and around their 30s, as in a natural, well-balanced, healthy population of elephants, as the larger males will simply chase them away from any receptive cow or fight with them and break their tusks off. We've seen this at Amakala quite a lot recently, where the younger bulls are trying to get in with the females, and the big dominant bull fights them off and chases them off. So it can end like that. It sometimes can even end in an elephant bull killing another elephant bull if he doesn't back off. So they spend their adolescence and young adulthood learning from older, more experienced males. The wisdom of the elders, once again, is essential. These older males are important in maintaining discipline in the young bulls, who've been known to randomly attack villages in open areas and rhinos without provocation. And it's normally during must, when they have up to 60 times more testosterone pumping through their blood. Studies have shown that the presence of the much older bulls prevents the youngsters from entering the state of extremely high testosterone levels that's normally associated with a readiness to mate and aggressive behavior. Right, then we get to something a little bit more interesting, apart from the normal sort of groupings of the elephants, what we now call bond groups. The families can split up, and the decision to do so is informed by the ability of their particular home range to sustain them. Together, these separate families are related genetically and form what is called a bond group. It's a second tier of relationship in elephant society. These interrelated bond groups forage over large areas, occasionally meeting at waterholes and favorite feeding spots, often with much trunk entwining, trunk-to-mouth behavior, rumbling, and purring, which we will and do see here a lot, especially when you have new herds arriving and meeting up with the herds that are here. A bond group may include as many as 5 or more families and up to 50 or more individuals. According to Elephant Voices, although the ties between individuals across the bond groups are weaker than those within the same family, bond group members also have close and friendly ties, from alliances against aggressors, assist in the care of another's offspring, defend one another in times of danger, and greet one another in a special way as well. So, Lenny, thanks for your comment, and glad you're enjoying the discussion. I think, as I say, try to get a little bit deeper into the real science of these different animals, and with the focus now, obviously, having to be with elephants. So we've got those bond groups. Now we talk about the clans that they have. So herds, bonds, and clans. So with the elephant clans, the size of a herd can change in response to seasonal changes in the availability of water, fresh green grass, or marula fruit, whatever it might be. When food and water are aplenty, elephants who usually share dry season home range may gather in large groups called clans, which consist of different bond groups and families, and both female and male herds. Clans of 500 to 1,000 elephants have been recorded around waterholes. This is, what we are seeing right now. This would be a clan of different bonds and families that have all come together for a common resource, being the waterhole to cool off. So clans of 500 to 1,000 have even been recorded, but usually they reach about 70 in number. I think we upwards of that here. When good food is available, elephants flock to socializing, often with several different clans in an area. And in these aggregations, several clans may intermingle. Sometimes they enjoy it so much that the odd defector takes to establishing residency in a new clan. And it's thought that elephants may in fact prefer to associate with large numbers of fellow clan members, but can only do so when food and water sources are abundant. And that's according to Mammoths, Mastodons, and Elephants, Biology, Behavior, and the Fossil Record by Gary Haynes.
Hickory dickory dock, the kids ran to the spot. The clock struck 4, the kids sat down, hickory dickory dock. Our Kids Safaris bring interactive entertainment and learning to the future protectors of our world for 1 hour every weekday during our safari drives. Watch it live on your nearest device. Don't miss out on the fun. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So this is why we also speak of the best time to go on safari, and the best game viewing time is when it's very dry, as it forces these concentrations of animals to come to the water holes. And that's obviously the best for us to be able to see the different social structures, the dynamics between herds and different species, and sometimes conflict as well. You also very often have predators hanging around because of the concentrations of the animals here. So it's where all the action really is. And during the dry season, the drier, the hotter, the better. And this is the kind of thing that you can then expect. Once the rains start coming through, obviously the animals aren't forced to come to spots like this and concentrate in their numbers and get their water elsewhere in puddles. and small pans around. So the best time of the year, I would say, is during the dry season, and it goes without saying across most of the safari destinations, that is the best time to go. I've just heard, though, that not here, but in Namibia, one of the ephemeral rivers that I used to go looking for the desert elephants, it's called the Huarusib River, and it runs through and past Puros. It's part of the wildest part of Namibia. And that river is now flowing, and it's gone all the way through into the Skeleton Coast National Park and will probably make its way through to the ocean, which is great for the area and lovely that the water has been replenished there for the animals that rely on that oasis in the desert. But it's also important for travelers there now to remember not to camp in the river, because even at the Puros campsite, there was no rain whatsoever. And there was rain inland, but you wouldn't have even known. And a 4-foot wall of water will come through, and you could be trapped, drowned, vehicle washed away. It happens every single year in Namibia, and still people do it. And if you're thinking about it, don't camp in the river itself. So just also to finish off on the social structure chat with the herds, bonds, and clans. Now, I say it quite a lot. I think elephants are very much like us, or us like them. And it seems like a lot of elephant researchers also think the same. But why are elephants so much like us? There's many reasons, but in terms of their social structures, they, perhaps more than any other mammal, require socialization. Like us, they need to learn how to get along with others. Future leaders, matriarchs, and alpha bulls need to acquire the skills that will enable them to lead their rough bands of willful elephants. There are hierarchies that require hard work to maintain. Garnering support requires political know-how, as well as size, strength, and knowledge. Elephants have personalities much like humans, from loud, extroverted bullies to easygoing, gentle giants. The norms and standards of the herd ensures a stable environment for the raising of the calves who represent the future of the herd. Learning how to be an elephant and navigate the uncertain and ever-changing waters and wilderness of life takes practice and mentorship. Elephants know that no man is an island, and that the strength of the bond, whether in the family, bond group, or clan, means the strength of the individual. Nice way to wrap that off. So Picasso asking an interesting question. He says the elephant's tail seems to end with a thick end vertebra from which two sets of hair come. So Picasso, that's an interesting observation. We'll maybe try and see if we can check it closer. But I'm also going to delve into the anatomy of an elephant's tail. That's a good line, I think. So thanks for that, Picasso. Nice to get new ideas of what we can chat about. So, saying that quite a thick set vertebra at the bottom of the tail and then two sets of hairs. It does definitely come out in two sets of hair. in general, as I've seen, almost like a moustache. So going around like that. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Let's see what we can dig up. We'll see if we can maneuver the camera to get a better picture or a better view on one of these elephants' tails.
Cheetahs are one of nature's prolific gems. Jump on safari as we celebrate International Cheetah Day. Alongside an interview with the woman who established International Cheetah Day, Dr. Laurie Marker, we will search for cheetahs live across Africa and share some of our best cheetah sightings from over the years. Join us for our cheetah chase. WildEarth, keeping up with the fastest land mammal on Earth.
So, having looked at quite a few different pictures of elephants' tails, it does seem like it is, in fact, vertebra all the way to the end of the tail, and then you've got the hair coming out of both sides of it, obviously out of the skin, though. And with that research, just obviously found a couple of little write ups from different websites on elephants' tails in particular. One from Elephant Human Relations Aid, who are heavily involved with the desert elephants of Namibia, and I've been involved with them as well. They say that adult elephants can have tails that are up to 1.5 meters long and weigh as much as 11 kilograms. Adults use their tails to guide younger elephants, whereas younger elephants might hold on to an older elephant's tail in order to follow them for security and in an attempt to slow them down. However, the tail is usually used to swat away flies, and I think it's also a big part in indicating their mood as well. I use that when we're out on trail, especially to understand and see if an elephant's angry or if he's relaxed. So they say they swat away flies in a feat that requires as much torque as the engine of a sedan might, or in other words, enough force to knock out a heavyweight boxer, because it's moving that 11 kilograms around. That's quite interesting. So in the Global Sanctuary for Elephants, they say the tails are used for more than swatting insects. Female elephants often use their tails to feel around and check for calves to make sure they're still following behind. Like a mother holds the hand of her child, a calf can also grab onto their mother's tail for guidance or for comfort. And the tail can be used as a disciplinary tool. Elephants do not hesitate to give a swift and forceful swat at other elephants if necessary. Something interesting is that research has shown that the hair on the tail of elephants, composed of keratin, is quite different from the hair on the rest of their bodies and is more similar to the horns of rhino or horse hooves. So, leopard lover, thanks for your comment once again, and glad that you're enjoying the show. So you may be wondering why we haven't gone to any of the other water holes. Well, we do try to stay where there's action, and the other water holes are a little bit quiet for now. And why would we leave this elephant pool party? But when there is something else interesting, we'll definitely pop across. So, Isabella, you're asking how far elephants that have been tagged have traveled. I'll have to look into that, Isabella. We're probably going to be going into history to times when, okay, you're speaking of tagged. So for elephants to be able to move, that be able to cross boundaries, borders, international borders. Um, so it would be interesting to see maybe some of the elephants in the Kruger National Park have been tagged, and see how far that they've moved up into Zimbabwe, Mozambique. That's potential. Maybe in East Africa, in Kenya, between Tanzania and the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. That might be another possibility. Maybe in the Okavango Delta, moving across into Zambia. So I'll have a look and see what I can find. Right, so I wasn't too far off. I found an article on Monga Bay, which is a news agency that report on environmental issues and so on. And I might find some more on this, but this is very interesting nonetheless. Data from satellite tracking tags on 120 elephants in southern Africa have identified a suite of wildlife movement corridors across 5 southern African countries, suggesting the importance of cross-border coordination. Wide-ranging movements of elephants include dispersal from northern Botswana, north into Angola, and south towards the Kalahari Desert. Research findings have suggested that open and unimpeded movement corridors can help reduce conflict with human residents, while blocked corridors can push elephants and other wildlife into new developments or villages, resulting in increased conflict. So that's obviously what they're trying to alleviate with the study. Data from satellite tracking tags deployed on elephants in Botswana, Namibia, Zambia, and along the border of Angola and Zimbabwe have revealed that the Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area, which was formally established in 2011, represents the world's largest transboundary wildlife corridor. And according to the non-profit Elephants Without Borders, the data from these tags have identified elephant corridors, migration paths, and vacant habitats that could reduce negative impacts resulting from an increased elephant population coming into contact with an increasing human population, which will obviously end in elephant deaths after there are human deaths. So that's obviously the reasoning behind it. But it was Professor Landon and her team. She said that they used to see wide-ranging movements of elephants across countries through connected wildlife corridors. And this tracking program has revealed that elephants of the northern Botswana have the second largest home range of 24,828 square kilometers or 9,856 square miles recorded for African elephants in this region. The elephants are part of a greater population that extended into western Zimbabwe, the Caprivi Strip in Namibia, southeast Angola, and southwest Zambia. And the tracking data has shown them that elephants have been moving north out of Botswana through Namibia into Angola and Zambia. Wow. And they say that because of these corridors that now have been made available for the elephants, they are reoccupying areas from which they have been absent from for many years. And the most striking expansion of elephant range has occurred south towards the Boteti River, south into the Central Kalahari Game Reserve, and west of the Okavango Delta. This individual going for a good old scratch. Scratching his legs, now his bum, was doing his belly. Other bigger, I think it's a bull, scratching his foot now. And these zebbies are really trying to get in and have a drink. I'm sure they're very thirsty. But with so many elephants around, it's not very easy.
It's a festive Wilderland. Come along as we go in search for various festive wild animals for the 12 days of Christmas. From honking geese and roaring lions to hooting owls and leaping leopards. Tune in on your nearest device and join the festive fun. Watch the live show from the 14th to the 25th of December. Don't miss out. Embrace the festive season with WildEarth.
So a couple of blue wildebeest have just entered the fray. There's a few more, I think, in the background. Maybe the zebra will get a bit of courage because of that and come through and try and drink again. So, Levi, interesting question with zebra. Traditionally they've got a stallion and then a group of females. But within that herd, there might be a little bit of dominance between those females, but it's not very noticeable. It's mainly the stallion that keeps them rounded up. And so it's more of a patriarchy with zebra and the stallion having a harem of females. So you always got to remember with all of these animals, they're spending a lot of time at the waterhole here. In some way, it's helping them actually to minimize the energy loss to try and keep cool by staying here by the water and letting the water and evaporation do it for them. But this is wasted time for all of these herbivores that need to eat a lot of plant material to survive. So when it's so hot like this, you can see a bit of, the change in their behavior from less activity during the day and more activity at night when it's cooler and they don't need to spend much energy, if any at all, keeping cool. Um, and so then the energy that they gain from the food that they eat during those cooler hours lasts for longer and they're able to do more during that time. So it's all about energy efficiency. And, obviously you still, though, need to think about getting those calories in, especially if you have dead time like this, it would be seemingly wasted. And you've got to make up for that with the food intake at some stage. So, Lebo, the population of elephants in Madikwe is upwards of 1,500 of them. So, we're seeing probably just about 10% of the population of the whole reserve here, Mala, which is lovely. If we sort of say that we're over 100 elephants in the area, we're close on that. So, Evelyn, with elephants and their communication, the each individual will speak slightly differently, just like us as humans. So, even though they might speak with the same accent, they will have their own personal sound. So, the matriarchs, yes, will be different than the other individuals within the group, but it's not sort of special for the matriarchs. That everybody's an individual and everybody will be slightly different in that way. So it would be very, very interesting if we were able to get machinery that could help us to understand. I'm sure that the researchers are probably going down this line, and I have found quite a bit of research on it. On the listening to elephants and their voices, etc. And this is how they know that there is different accents from elephants that live in different geographical locations. So these Madikwe elephants won't sound like the Etosha elephants or like the Kruger. It depends, though. Some of these elephants may have come from those parts, so we might have a bit of a mix accent. So you could almost say that this is like the London of game reserves, because they've reintroduced the elephants here, and so they've come from different parts of more so South Africa, but it would then mean a bit of a mix of accents from their different original locations. But they would also sound different to the Chobe elephants and those into the Caprivi strip. So it's like different dialects. And I chatted about this yesterday. It's similar with birds. If you hear a orange-breasted bushshrike in the Kruger Park, and you hear it in Botswana, it might sing different parts of its call, or it might even sound slightly different. Um, and you can find that with a lot of the birds, where I've moved a lot in my safari guiding, and sometimes I sit and I think, I know that bird, but what is it? And it's because I've been in the Kruger area, and now I'm in Namibia, and I'm hearing the same bird call, but it's a different part of the call, or it's just slightly different. And then I see the bird and I realize what's gone on. So I've worked that out a lot, and it is apparent that elephants are no different. In fact, they do have real individual voices and different accents, as explained. So, Events TV, it is a wonderful thing to be there live. I'm sure the guests at Jamala currently would be having an absolute treat. But as a second best, at least you can still watch the Waterhole show and you can see these lovely scenes.
Welcome to Destination Safaris, WildEarth's travel show.
Beautiful Hills Neck Safari Camp is an intimate family-run lodge nestled here on the banks of the Bushmans River. This week we'll explore this intimate camp engulfed in stunning views of Amakhala Private Game Reserve.
So just trying to have a look at that leaf structure. It is a little bit difficult because we're still a bit of a way off. And then after which I'll have a look at the bark and what that looks like. But from what I'm seeing here and just the way that these leaves are coming off the branch, it does look like it might be a leadwood, which would explain why the elephants haven't pushed it over, because leadwood, obviously one of the densest of all the woods that we get out here, if not the densest. Yeah, it looks like it could potentially be a leadwood, but it's also been sort of covered in mud, and the camera's doing its own thing as well. So I think that be a leadwood. The other one that we see, I do believe it's either a jackalberry, nyala tree, or maybe even an apple leaf. But once again, we'd have to go in nice and close and have a bit more of an investigation on that one. Right, this one over here. Now, if we go in and have a bit of a closer look on those leaves and the trunk, it might also be a fig. I'm just looking at that that roots, but I do think it's maybe an no, it's not an apple leaf. I think it might be a fig. because of those buttress type stump, I very often have that. So I'm going with a fig tree. It's probably a common cluster fig. And you see those hanging, stringy branches like that is normally where you find the fruits. So I think this one is a common cluster fig. The elephants are still here. I think there might be even more arriving. And as we go into the sort of hottest part of the day, this is what you can expect. Pretty sure they're going to keep on hanging around, keeping themselves wet, keeping themselves cool. So I think it's Hudson. You're asking about different behavior of elephants in Etosha to the Kruger. I would probably say, Hudson, that the biggest difference that I've noticed between the Etosha elephants and those in the Kruger, particularly if you go north in the Kruger, is that the breeding herds are a lot more anxious. They're not very relaxed, and they're a little bit averse to humans. So and then that's not always. It's just some of the herds, but it's quite a strong feeling, and that I've been quite nervous of them as a result. In Namibia, you don't really find, or I've never experienced that kind of anxiousness or nervousness, and I think it's down to the elephant herds that cross over the Limpopo and go into Zimbabwe and Mozambique. And they do move through hunting concessions, so they've got that kind of relationship with humans there, and so when they come back into the Kruger, it's they just take it as humans once again, and so they're not very relaxed. They can be quite aggressive as well, or they either disappear or they want to come and fight and chase you away. So don't really get that feeling in any way whatsoever in Etosha. Um, Other than that, I do find the Etosha elephant bulls a lot more imposing than the elephant bulls in Kruger. Not to say that they're not imposing, just not quite as imposing as those big mature bulls in Etosha. They are just humongous. They are massive, and I've never experienced elephants that size anywhere else. Um, Even in Kenya, it's just like this bull that's approaching here on the left hand side. The just sheer size of that skull and how tall they are, how big they are. It's in Etosha. It's just something that I've found very different to anywhere else that I've been. And a reminder once again that this is a live and interactive experience. So we'd love for you to jump on board with us and send us through your questions and your comments. You can do that by going on the WildEarth website and registering. You can also join the conversation on Twitter, now known as X, using the hashtag WildEarth. Also on the YouTube live chat. We'd love to hear from you. What would you like us to chat about, or what would you like to know?
Get ready for a flurry of feathers and beaks. WildEarth is celebrating BirdLife South Africa's 39th Birding Big Day. Join our naturalists on drive as they compete to spot the most bird species across locations during Sunset Safari Live. Don't miss out on the fun. WildEarth, it's in your nature.
So we spoke of that tree. I think on the left there, it looks to be. I haven't been able to confirm. We can't really see clearly enough. But being a leadwood tree or Combretum imberbe, that is the Latin name, the genus and the species. And the Hereros and Avambus of Namibia, they attach very special cultural and religious significance to the leadwood tree. Because to them, it's the great ancestor of all animals and people, which must be passed with respect. And the Herero, as well as the Himba tribes, they stay in a village and they have their sort of houses dotted around the kraal, which is where all the cattle go at night. Um, and then between the kraal and the chief's house, they make the holy fire. And it's the entrance to the kraal, the fire, and then the entrance to the chief's house. And you never go between this area without permission from the sort of the village of the chief. And his door never closes to the holy fire, which they always have burning, and they always have some leadwood on that fire as well, being the link to the ancestors through the holy fire and the constant burning of the leadwood tree, which also being a link to the ancestors. So it's just a very interesting sort of African cultural part of it that I often go and, when I take tourists into Namibia, we go to the Himba villages, and we always need to remember these small things that is very important for those people. So in a little while, we'll also be introducing the Africam waterholes. So that will be great to also see what's been going on across all of those locations. So there does seem to be a little bit of a movement away from the waterhole. It has thinned out a little bit, but still lots hanging around. And look at that one just lying in the mud. That's what I'd be doing.